I'm on my lunch break at work, and I figured I'd take this time to talk about my experience as a QA engineer and how I went from computer science student to thinking I wanted to be a software engineer to then thinking, oh, maybe coding isn't for me, and how I found my way back to coding some years later. My name is Victor. I'm a QA engineer, motorcycle rider, vegan, and first gen in almost every way. I'm here to talk about my experiences, and maybe you'd relate, maybe you learned something, maybe we can, teach each other something. So I wanted to start talking about my experience as a QA engineer. When I was in college, I wanted to be a software engineer. I took all the computer science classes. I learned all the data structures and algorithms, and C++ was really the big thing I used, and then eventually databases. Um, and I actually did a software engineering internship during college when one of the professors was the CEO of a company, software engineering company that was kind of small, local. And I did really great in his database class. And so he was like, hey, do you want to come work with me? And so I started that internship, but very quickly I realized, ooh, maybe this isn't really what I want to do. Like, I saw all the crunch the devs worked. I saw, the products that they were working on, and like they were fine. It's insurance companies, religious things, like things that I was not really passionate about. Um, and so that was really what took it away from me, was the amount of work they put in, the crunch. The tech crunch is crazy. Um, and then just building things that I wasn't passionate about. One of the things that I loved about coding was that you can build something that you're passionate about with a few lines of code. Obviously it's more complex than that, but that you could code something and make it whatever you want. And when you're doing that for someone else, it's really not as fun. It's not as interesting. So I ended up having to quit that internship due to other personal reasons. But I just wasn't enjoying it. I was struggling with mental health and family and different things. So I ended that internship, graduated college, and I thought to myself, well, if I don't want to do coding, what can I do? And at the time, I was, pretty uh, unaware, I guess, of like what kinds of other jobs you can do outside of coding. All I knew was like network security, IT work, and software engineering. Those were the basic three things that I thought you could do with it. So I went into data centers, kind of as an IT and like service desk for data centers at an Intel data center. And I started working there. I enjoyed, working with my hands, building servers. That was fun for a little bit, but I felt like I wasn't really utilizing my skills and I wasn't growing as much as I wanted to. And on top of, it being kind of a not so great job, working nights and then being lied to about getting a raise, I ended up quitting and I found a job as a QA analyst shortly after. And this is what really opened my eyes to different things that I could do and things that I actually enjoyed more. As a QA analyst, I kind of understood the full software cycle of development, hardware, and then user experience. And that was really great because I feel like that helped me become really good at QA, is having some of that background knowledge from being a software engineer and from knowing coding. Um, on top of that, I actually learned accessibility testing, and that was like really the big thing that I really enjoyed. I learned, all the WCAG principles. I learned how to use screen readers, which I had never used before, and it really opened my eyes to a lot more. And I also just worked with, cool companies. I worked with Nike and Dropbox, which not the coolest, but it was still interesting, all the products that they had. And then I worked with Figma, and I worked with OpenAI. I worked with a bunch of different companies, and that was really interesting to do something different. And then after that, I ended up finding a job as a QA engineer. So I went from QA analyst to QA engineer at my current company. And I won't say too much about what I do since I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to share, but we basically do Android apps, and all of it is configured at a pretty large scale through a web portal. And so currently I do a lot of manual testing, test documentation, test plans, all that kind of thing. But it's a small company, and I'm only the second QA engineer they've had. And since I've been here, we've been wanting to do a push towards automated testing. And so I'm leading the charge on Playwright testing for our web portal. And eventually I want to get into the Android mobile automation testing for our products and really do a full automated end-to-end test. And so that's really my new kind of passion, is automating our web portal. And I never thought I would write code again, honestly. But I've been using Python and Playwright, and I've been having a lot of fun kind of figuring that out and like solving new problems and trying to you know, remember what I used to know about coding. And it's different than regular software engineering, but it's been a lot of fun trying to integrate with GitHub and the CI/CD like integration of it all. Right now I'm doing this cool thing where I'm checking what version of the portal we are running, and if it's different than the last version of last time I checked, it runs an automated test for our health check. And those tests run, they generate an HTML report, and that's been super cool. And I want to take it a step further. So I figured that one of the series, one of the things I could talk about on my channel is kind of my journey as a QA engineer, and as now transitioning from manual to automated testing, because I think that's really the next step for me, is how do I go from manual QA to automation QA to really grow my career. And so I just want to document it here, kind of help other people that are on a similar journey to me, whether you're a student, whether you're a QA engineer now, whether you want to transition to QA, or just, if you're interested in it for whatever reason. So yeah, I'm going to be posting a lot more. I want to do some tutorials and different things and kind of go over like the things that I've struggled with automating. I know that you can, have lots of resources to learn, and people learn differently, but I figured, I can share kind of my experience and how it's been working for me, and how I went from no automation to now running, scheduled automated tests across different environments. So yeah, please subscribe and like if you're interested in this type of content, and let me know what your experience is in tech, or if, just let me know kind of what your background is with computer science, with technology, with QA. And I'm looking forward to posting more and talking about it. Thank you.